Hey everyone, today I'll be talking about a film which I watched recently and it really impressed me. That being Gaspar Noé's 2018 film Climax. Climax is a French film about a group of dancers who gather in an empty school to rehearse and party. However, their celebration soon becomes a nightmare when they realise that their drinks have been spiked with LSD. Climax has a very distinct style to it, which helps it be one of the most anxiety-inducing, disturbing films I have ever seen. I haven't seen any of Gaspar Noé's other films, but if they're anything like Climax, I'm intrigued, but also very scared to watch any more. The cinematography and camera work in this film is incredible, and it's almost like nothing I've ever seen before. It's stylish and it serves a purpose to the plot of the film. Noé and his cinematographer Benoit Debie managed to make you feel like you were right there in the party, having the most nightmarish trip of your life. We start the film with lots of smooth, sweeping overhead one takes. The camera pans, tilts and moves with the action of the dancers as if it were one of them, immersing the audience within the action. But over the course of the film, the way that the camera moves changes. As the dancers realise that their sangria has been spiked with LSD, the camera movement reflects the dancers. It becomes more unhinged, spiralling out of control and spinning upside down and moving quickly. There is also a 15 or so minute scene of just two shots, where Noé just films multiple pairs of people and keeps cutting between the different pairs, talking about their own problems and reasons as to why they are part of the dance group. I've never really seen a director do this, and I've certainly never seen a director do it to the extent and the length that Gaspar Noé does it to in Climax. It just lasts for such a long time. It will definitely get on some people's nerves, and I can understand why, purely just because of the length of it. But I found it very interesting as it's a lot of character development and it adds way more depth to each individual character as you understand and get to know everyone and their motives. If the film wasn't scary enough, it gets even scarier when the lights go off and the emergency lights are triggered, and the whole building is just flooded with red lights. This happens because the manager of the dance troupe's child unknowingly drinks some of the sangria when she isn't watching, and then upon finding out that it's laced with LSD and seeing everyone descend into madness, she decides to lock him in the power room for his own safety. Well, spoiler alert, eventually he touches the janky broken electricity box that's just sat there in the corner and he dies. Which isn't actually seen at first, which I think is a very cool filmmaking move. But by using the colour red, which connotes violence and death, it signifies to the audience that he has in fact died, which is then actually seen later on. As I said before, I haven't seen any other of Gaspar Noé's films, so this was my first experience with him, and I must say I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't enjoy the subject matter because that is absolutely horrible, but the journey that Noé takes you on is just incredible. His directing ability is unlike anyone else that I've seen, immersing the audience so well. No matter how crazy the things going on in the film are, you experience what the characters are going through with them. Watching the film, it makes you feel like you are right there next to these characters, or following them through the dark halls of this abandoned school as they go through this terrifying trip. In that scene I mentioned earlier, where Noé repeatedly cuts to different pairs talking about their hedonistic wishes and the other members of the troupe, the conversations were mostly improvised. Gaspar filmed around 40 minutes of each pair just talking and cut up the most interesting bits that he found added more to everyone's characters, making it just feel incredibly natural. The cast of Climax is mainly made up of professional dancers, with only a few actors actually having prior experience in the film. I didn't know this at first, so it really surprised me when I found out, because everyone gives such a convincing performance that you just assume that they're actors. By using professional dancers that are exceptional at their own unique style of dancing, but they aren't actors, it makes the film feel entirely more believable and somewhat even scarier. It's almost like you're watching real people in a real documentary, and I just think that's terrifying. I also found the use of sound in this film to be very creative. The film starts with lots of confident, fast and upbeat dance tracks. However, as the dancers realise that they've been drugged, the music transitions to slower, more sinister feeling tracks, filled with piercing noises that somewhat reference horror films, which signify the emotions of the characters as they navigate through this nightmare. This is enforced with the sounds of cheering and clapping as each dancer early on in the film supports the other in a dance circle. These sounds are eventually swapped out for screaming and sounds of chaos. And in the last few minutes of the film, the music is slow and mellow as the camera pans over all the chaos, death and destruction that occurred over the course of that fateful night. The story of this film is also really captivating. Even though it's mostly the same thing, which is people having the worst high of their lives for about an hour and a half, it is still so engaging. As the film goes on and more little but crucial details are revealed about all of the characters, you build your own investigation case on each of them, their motives and their alibis, why they would do it and how they couldn't have done it. Not only this, but you look into how every individual dancer treats one another in the dance troupe, and you start to think about whether it would make sense for that character to actually do something like this. I think at Climax's core, it is a whodunit film. A disturbing, sexual and drug-filled whodunit. Thank you very much for watching. I would definitely recommend Climax. It is very unsettling and a very disturbing film. It's very violent and it's very sexual, but I would recommend watching it purely for the actual filmmaking technicalities on display. You're watching it and your whole jaw is just on the floor the whole runtime, just shocked at how somebody can achieve something so technically masterful as this is almost. I really enjoyed it a lot. I've been waiting to write this review since I watched it because I knew that there was something in the back of my head that I needed to almost get off in a YouTube review. Yeah, I just think it's a very great film. I will definitely be checking some more of Gaspar Noé's other films out, and I'll proceed with caution because I've heard a lot of them are very divisive, let's say. But yeah, I enjoyed Climax a lot. If it interests you at all, go ahead, watch it. I definitely recommend it. And yeah, I will see you in the next film analysis I do.